going on YouTube? It is a beautiful Sunday morning back here out on the Focus. Lately seems to be about the only time I really get to work on this is Saturday nights and Sundays. So we are onto the side skirts, onto the wide body. We are building for the zx3 Focus. Front fenders we covered in another video. This was my finish it piece to try to bring this front fender into the front bumper, and it's functional for now. It'll get me by until I can figure out just exactly what I want to do with that front bumper. I do kind of like the way the front bumper's going, but we are plugging away on this one. So what we've got here is 20 gauge metal. This has all been hand shaped, and yes, I know it's adding a lot of weight, but I do have plans for this car as far as weight reduction and performance. I want to do Lexan or plexiglass windows on this one, which will reduce about the same amount of weight that I'm adding down here. So I'm literally just transferring the weight lower down to lower the center of gravity, and also I think it looks kind of cool. Wife disagrees, but I like it. So where we got started with this one was started on the bottom, and there's a lot of prep work that you can do beforehand before you ever actually start welding anything to the car. What we've got here is basically nearly a rain gutter going on here, but this was hand shaped, and you can see where I literally just took that 1/4 inch rectangular tubing and a piece of angle iron that I've got there sitting on the floor, set them on top of each other, and then using my hands and starting the bend, and then coming back with a hammer, that guy right there, and tapping along it to form all of these. And you can see where we've got hammer marks in it. Some of these actually ended up a lot cleaner than others. You can see where we're not perfectly flat, perfectly straight, but that's what I ended up doing, and then just took it out. You can see I started there, did the front piece first, and then shaped this rear piece, which ended up being a hair short, but it'll all look good in the end. That top piece is just a singular bend, and then just tried to find the right angle, took some measurements, shaped it all out with cardboard. And then what we did for attaching it up top was we just went right into the door seal, set it right down on top of it, laid it as flat as possible, and because of the accident on this side there were a couple of high spots, I ended up having to tap down with a hammer to get it to sit flat and flush, and then just came in here and welded the entire thing across. Now I could definitely go, all out and grind this down and make this perfect and weld all these little spots back in, but there's no reason for that. This is more than secure, and I will end up seam sealing this and then sanding it down and painting over top of that. But overall it ended up looking very, very clean. This piece here is all one solid piece that was all shaped. This up here, you can see where I have directly welded it to the body. One thing I do recommend that you do is make sure that there's nothing flammable inside of the car behind where you're welding. Not worth burning a car to the ground. And on this one I actually did end up setting a piece of styrofoam on fire. You can see where I had smoke pouring up from back behind the door panel. You can see where I've got some blackened interior here. Kind of let the smoke out of her a little bit, and it did torch these Pioneer speakers, but they're coming out anyways. This one is not getting the radio put back in it. But yeah, always make sure. This was a very, very scary moment for me as we were here in the garage after running a couple of tacks across the top, and it was only just a few to tack it on there, but I ended up putting enough heat into that metal to set some styrofoam on the inside on fire, and that's what caught fire and burnt and roasted. Ended up starting hearing a crackling noise, a popping noise, and I should not be hearing that. I'm not welding. That sounds like a fire. Looked up, and the window, inside of the window, everything was black. Ripped the door open, black smoke pouring out of it. Kind of panicked there for a second, hurried and ripped off the door panel, and then was able to put the fire out just by blowing on it. Fortunately, it was just styrofoam that had caught fire, but it's a good thing I caught it when it did, and it didn't end up torching everything. Other option I could have done was rolled it outside, but with a lot of junk behind it, it would have been an absolute nightmare. I'm getting a fire extinguisher for inside of the garage, but couple of close calls, but we made it through. This back piece, this still needs some final shaping here. coming down and around. Again, this is all one solid piece. And you can see where I've got some gaps that I've got to fill in, but with the right techniques and the right amount of welding tack, which is really all comes down to time of trigger time, tack welding these on. So far it's going very, very well. But we still need to shape this back piece just with the way that everything was kind of moving and pivoting and shimmying on me when I was trying to get it into position. I didn't want to pre-make this and cut it short, and so I ended up leaving it just a hair long so I can come back and clean this up when I go to do the final piece that will connect to the inner wheel well and then connect out. And then as far as up here, I believe I've got enough space here. What I'll end up doing is I'll end up cutting this out across here, and then I will end up coming up all the way to here, putting in another piece like I did the front fender, and then continuing this across the top right to where it meets the bumper. And then for the bumper going down, I haven't decided exactly what I want to do with that yet, and you'll notice I've got 3 different colors here. I've got green, black, and then this is another piece from that front bumper. This is actually what sat underneath the headlight. I decided it looked kind of cool and I could reuse it, especially because not a big fan of these factory rear bumpers. And I think I've shown you this on another video, but that is literally the lower grille opening off of the front bumper that I was able to cut out, get it to fit in there, cut a hole in this bumper, ended up fitting it in there, and then zip tying it into place. Overall, pretty happy with the way that turned out. Probably not going to be a long-term solution for the rear bumper, and I definitely need to finish up the rest of this wide body up here. But for today, I'm going to be finishing up all of these little pieces, and I'm not going to have you guys watch me for 9 hours while I fabricate 3 little pieces for this thing. So overall, going very, very well. My clearances for where the door comes up are incredibly, incredibly tight, which is exactly what I wanted with this. And what I'll end up doing here is end up just taking a piece and welding all the way across here, all the way down across this transition, so that this will be a recessed door. Overall going really well, other than a small fire. Front fender, this piece actually stopped about here. You can see kind of see where that angle changes here. This is 2 separate pieces here, this being the big one about 4 feet long to go underneath the door, and then this front one to attach to the fender. I did end up welding this directly to the fender, and then took my angle grinder upside down with the disc facing up, and then able to come in here and kind of walk it up and down and get that ground out just exactly where I like it. You can see I've still got a little bit of a burn through here, but I'm waiting until I get the cap piece here on the end, which I have not fabricated yet, to go here and finish that to the front fender. But this is where we're at. Hope you guys enjoy the update, or maybe even a little bit of inspiration. Definitely plan on some serious time. I'm into this one probably about 36 hours between metal shaping on my hands and knees on the concrete floor, and tack welding it on there, grinding it down, re-tack welding it, grinding it down. And as you get better and with better tools, this process can definitely go a lot faster, but this is where we are at with this one. So have an excellent Sunday, you guys.